Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissick and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissick.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great. I'm super excited. We have a great guest today, Chris Bello. I think he and I might have connected while you were busy planning your wedding.
I was going to say, how did you all connect? That was going to be my first question.
Yeah, I can't remember. Somehow we got connected and hit it off. And I thought, Chris would make a great guest for us for our podcast. So here we are, Chris. We always like to say you were born, and then what happened?
Well, funny enough, today is actually my birthday, so I was born.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. Everyone's like, do something fun today. I'm like, I like what I do every day, so I'm just going to keep doing what I do. I had a meeting this morning on a podcast now, just got back from the gym, and so I'm enjoying it, and it's great to spend some of my birthday here with you today. Awesome. But long story short, I was born, I was in the Matrix like so many people, and I just went to school. All my friends went to this private school. I went there for high school. Most of my friends went to Texas A&M, so I went there for college. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, right? Most people kind of feel that. They just, all right, let me join a couple of clubs. Let me be an honor roll student or whatever. Get my good grades. Get a full-time job. And a few years into the job, I realized, I don't see myself here. I'm not very excited. I can't imagine being here for 20 years. What more can I do with my life? And then I quit. I tried some things and somehow found my way into real estate, which is what I do currently, as well as I also have my own podcast. So that's kind of what happened. I was born and here I am. Now it's actually my birthday again. So cool to be here. Comes full circle.
So what was your other job that you tried for a while?
So I worked in supply chain at the oil and gas industry. I worked at a service company. I did a rotation program. I learned quite a bit. I got to live in Dubai for 6 or 7 months. They put me up there. That was cool. I saved a lot of money while I was there because they pay for everything, your hotel, your expenses. Yeah. But outside of that, I just wasn't super fulfilled or interested in, a lot of engineers and stuff know the tooling, the products, they nerd out about all those different things. And I was a business degree, so I couldn't really relate or understand, and I wasn't too interested on what this widget does in the ground at a certain, depth into the ground. And so that's what I did in my previous life. I worked there for close to 4 years, and then I just said, I got to get outside the cubicle. I need some sunshine. I need flexibility in my schedule, which real estate allows you to do, right?
Yeah. And then there's times when you go in way before 8 and get off way after 5, but it's because you want to, right?
Right. It's because you want to, and because your office isn't also the same computer screen all the time. You're moving. You can go to this coffee shop. You go show that house. It's dynamic enough to keep you interested, and there's something new every day, right? No 2 days really look alike.
Yeah, so true. So tell us about your real estate journey. How long has it been now, and then kind of what's that been like?
Yeah, so the real estate journey, well, I tell people about the sunk cost fallacy because I studied supply chain in college. I worked in oil and gas. I had 2 internships in that industry, right? So part of me felt hesitant to switch because that was what my resume had for the last few years of my life, and that's what my expertise was. I had a certification in that field, and so I felt like I had to stay there, but part of me wasn't really interested in doing that for the long term. So the way the story plays out, I try to invent a product with a friend, first of all. So I quit my job to put in $35,000 into an invention idea that, spoiler alert, didn't really quite pan out. It's, we have a patent on it. We've got some stuff that we ordered that's in a warehouse somewhere. But real estate was something that I found when I was just figuring out what do I do next and what can be that thing that takes me to where I want to go, gives me the flexibility and the freedom. And as you probably are aware, there's a podcast called Bigger Pockets on all things real estate and investments and wholesaling and flipping and all those kinds of things. I come across a podcast from a Houston-based company where I was living at the time. One of the founders went to Texas A&M, which is my university. I'm like, that's my in. I'm going to play the same school card. I'm going to create an opportunity, and I'm going to see if I can find my way into their organization. And maybe a month or two later, I did. And I landed a role in business development at a house buying investment company. So that was in 2018 where I needed mentors. I didn't want to shell out $35,000 to one of these programs to learn how to do it for a whole year. I just wanted to maybe get paid something to learn under people who had done it for years. And that's what got me started. And then a year after that is when I got my real estate license. So I've been in it for about 4 years total. And a lot of the work and the seeds that I planted back then, they still lead to referrals coming to me today. And Chris, I got this off-market property, and what can you do with it? It's been vacant for X amount of time, and so lives out of state. So those opportunities still come to me frequently today. And I'm actually still closing transactions in Houston while my fiance and I moved to Denver for fun in March of 2021. Wow. So yeah, that's been the interesting take where people are like, how are you closing on houses you never go to? And that's kind of where I've been teaching people about leverage and delegation and automation and those types of things.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that. And then I want to hear a little bit about your podcast, because Dana and I get asked a lot to talk about what's the importance of doing a podcast and stuff like that. But tell us a little bit more about what are some of the things that you share with people when they ask you that stuff?
Absolutely. So a lot of times people just don't have very good systems. And, I kind of got my license in Colorado recently and I wasn't sure where to join. I tried one broker out, and I literally 1 week into their onboarding process, I was like, this ain't going to work because it feels like a job. And you made me create 30 accounts for random things that it's just too overwhelming right off the bat, and it's not going to fit in with the systems that I already use. And so I literally switched from there back to a KW office in Colorado 1 week into their onboarding because I was just overwhelmed. Wow. So the way I like to say it to everyone is really simplify, and the best CRM or the best system that you can use is the one that you actually use. People are always wondering what's the magic secret. Wow. They got 10 or 15 different things that they never log into. They use this a little bit, they use that a little bit. But my number one tool, which I actually spoke with, your executive assistant, Linda, on, I was like, hey, I'll teach you how to use this. Yep. You have to use this. It'll make your life so easy. It's called Calendly, and it's a booking link software. Yes, it's so game changer. Literally, I can be sitting here with you. Someone might watch a video that I made 3 years ago. They want to buy a house. They can schedule a time, and boom, it's on my calendar for tomorrow when I'm available. Without me sending a single link, they get the Zoom link. It's on my calendar, and just life gets so much easier because I'm not having to text them back or call them back and play phone tag and all those types of things. So first of all, I would recommend people use some kind of scheduling software. Calendly, they've got a great free option. They also have a great premium option for just like $11 a month. Like, you can't even really get a coffee for maybe you can get it for a little bit less than that, right? But 2 coffees a month, and you can transform your life and never have the back and forth of trying to figure out how to get a hold of someone. You probably deal with it all the time. They called me. Okay, they're calling me right now. I can't answer. I'm talking to you. I call them back. Now they're talking to someone else. We all play phone tag, right? So that's the main solution that I recommend. And I have others if you're interested, but I'd say if I had to pick one, that's what I would pick.
Yeah, I am interested. So I'm interested in how, because I get Calendly for booking people for your podcast and Calendly for booking people who know you. What I'm curious about is, how do you get a client to book with you, and what would that video look like? And because I know the audience is going to want to know. Yeah. And then what do they booking you on Calendly for? So tell us a bit more about that.
And Chris, do they know that you aren't there in Houston too? Can you touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just omnipresence has been one thing I focused on. I'm on every podcast. I do speaking gigs. My schedule yesterday was crazy on phone calls and Zoom calls, pulling off the side of the road, those types of things. And the beautiful part is that whenever you actually do that and you start to let people know that you are doing multiple things, you're in meetings all the time, they understand that you can't be answering every single phone call right when they call you. You're just not available anymore. You're at too high of a level, and it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that you're doing too many things and you're all over the place all the time. And so I've shown people while I'm skiing with them. I was at Breckenridge. A friend was visiting me for spring break, and we were on the slopes. A friend texted me, hey man, I want to book a time. He knows I actively post about booking a time with me to chat. I want to sell my house. I'm thinking about selling it. I want to sell it pretty fast. Can you help me? The next text was a booking link. Yeah. Please pick a day and time that works for you. And his next message was, done, booked, see you Saturday. And I showed this within a minute. I'm like, we're in the line to get on the lift. And I'm like, see, dude, I don't have to answer my phone. I don't have to text him back right away. Within 2 messages, I'm talking to him on Saturday, and we sold that house 2 or 3 months after that. It was listed, we got multiple offers, and then we finally closed on it. And so people are very comfortable and familiar when you let them know that's part of your process and that they'll get a spot actively on your calendar so that you can best serve them. And then, Dana, regarding your question on do clients know, I do want to disclose that because I didn't really tell one client. It never really came up. And, I listed their house. We got photos. My brother's licensed in Texas, and he showed up to, help coordinate some things as well. And then my clients were like, hey, we're running a little late. We'll be at the title company soon. And I kind of was just like proud and saying, well, I'm not going to be there because I'm actually in Denver. And I was letting them know, but I don't think I had ever told them. And so I don't know if they felt some type of way that, dang, Chris wasn't even in town. So I do tell clients, by the way, I am in Denver. I moved to Colorado just for fun. I'm still closing deals. Here's my last few deals that I've closed. Here's all my 5-star reviews. So I handle that objection where one of my reviews literally says, we thought it would be an issue at first because Chris lives in Denver, but it wasn't a problem. He did a great job above and beyond. Communication was amazing, and we closed on time. His team is excellent. So showing people that the process, I have gone through this several times before with many happy clients, that helps people understand that it's not going to be my first trial run on can this actually work. Like I've done it, I've proven it, I've tested the hypothesis, it's worked. And I can provide that experience for every single client going forward.
Well, if you have a brother there, you basically have a team. It's no different than when I turn my business over to Brad. I just say, Brad's my listing partner, and he'll be there at the closing or he'll be at the appointment. I mean, they don't care, as long. And I think, you could continue to do that as a team because you've got somebody there representing you. So what are the best vehicles that you get this message out to people? Is it YouTube? Is it your voicemail? Is it how are you getting just the people just to all of a sudden show up on your calendar? What vehicles are you using or tools are you using for that?
That's a great question. So for everyone listening, if you go to chrisbello.com/links, that will show you a perfect example of what I send people to. That will redirect to a tool called Linktree, which you may be familiar with. It's really neat. It's dynamic links where I can show you 3 buttons or 4 buttons, and tomorrow I can change it to remove something or add something. So it's almost like the last link you ever need, where I don't have to send you to a link where 2 years from now, it's going to go somewhere else. And pro tip, this is an added step, but I did chrisbello.com/links so that if Linktree isn't the thing in 2 years, whatever is, /links will take you there. So from there, that's pretty cool, right, Dana? You're like, that is the next
because,
level.
I just heard that someone just shared with me, I had a tab open for it and now, Beacons is another one that's like Linktree because this social media person just told me that Linktree and Instagram have been in a feud. And so, so Instagram isn't promoting as many of the Linktree, so now they just switched all their stuff to Beacon, and I was thinking, crap, everything I do is Linktree. So now that was really smart that you did the domain name with that, so that if you want to use something different, then you can.
And it's very simple if you have, WordPress site. I think there is a plugin literally called Redirect that I use, and I've got /free, /links, /slides, like all kinds of different things that whatever it is that I want to direct people to, I just tell them that custom link on my site and it'll redirect to that accurate link. Because I actually still do have the Linktree link in my bio, but I could simply update it. And I promote that link, right? So I have a shirt that has a QR code, and if you scan it, it goes to that Linktree. And if you go to that Linktree, where I'm going with this is that it tells you all the options you can connect with me. If you want to download my free thing, you'll get on my email list, you'll get that free thing. If you want to book a 15-minute call with me, you have an option to do that, and it takes you to my Calendly link to do so. There's many options on there. You can also listen to the podcast. So for everyone listening, if you go there and just click on the buttons, you'll see exactly what my current system is and how it works, which tools, which buttons do what, and how many options I have on there as well.
That's great. That's awesome.
I love it. It looks so good. And Chris, I was also just thinking of one thing. I liked that you have testimonials that already handle the objection of you not being there, because I think Linda, I might have told you this last time, or maybe we talked about this, but Ed Milet had a podcast recently with Rory Vaden, and Linda and I both love Rory Vaden.
Yes.
and it was about building a powerful brand. And he said the one way to do so, the only way is through testimonials. Like, go ahead and have your
100%.
people say everything that you want everybody to know about you. So that's awesome.
Right. And if you flood them with testimonials, they can see right then and there. And the next step is also doing that in your presentation, your buyer or listing presentation, which I do all of mine via Zoom calls. So I can share my slides. I can do a little bit of, flexing in the MLS to show them here's all the buttons and almost overwhelm them with value where they see that I can't be making this up. I have done this so many times. I can run comps for you in 5 minutes in my sleep type thing. Mm-hmm. So you wow them, you show them those reviews, you handle the objection before they even ever think of it. And after I do all of that is when I have that, oh, by the way, fun fact, I moved to Denver because I read the 4-Hour Workweek and I want to live anywhere, whenever I want. And so that inspired me to, let's see if I can do the laptop lifestyle with real estate. And at that point, I can kind of see the look on their face where they're like, oh, like really? Like you're in Denver? How are you going to help me in Houston? That's when I slap them with that one slide. Check out this review, 5 stars, happy client. I help them buy a house virtually. That's even tougher than helping people list their house, right? And so it handles the objection, and it also shows them that, no worries, I got this. We are doing this. Check out all my listings here, by the way. If you want to click on them, here's my active listings. And it just shows the support and credibility to handle and squash those objections. Because that's the next level, is if you can actually squash them before they even pop up, now those people feel very comfortable. Your clients feel comfortable moving forward.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Love it.
So you said something earlier too. Oh, Calendly was your number one. What are a few others that you use? This is so interesting.
Yeah. So Calendly was the number one that really changed the game. I even have a personal trainer. I recommended it to him. And 5 months later, he was like, man, I need to offer you a free training session because this changed my business. I booked a session with him and I'm like, dude, how are you surviving off of this clunky system of, hey, does this day work or that day work? And so he values his sessions at $100 an hour and he just offered me a free hour. I have to take him up on that, but I'm like afraid because the last time I couldn't walk for 3 days after leg day, right? So that was back in May. Here we are in August recording this and I'm like, I got to take up that free option. But after Calendly, I do recommend, if you do have the premium version, you can integrate that with something like MailChimp or with Aweber is the current email provider that I use. And so when people sign up, you can have a little note in there, hey, by booking a time with me, you're acknowledging that I may keep in communication with you. You're welcome to unsubscribe at any time, and let them know that they'll be added to your newsletter just so you can keep in touch and add value to them depending on what it is that they want to hear. And so when you do that, you can build your database. It's almost a CRM in a way where anytime someone schedules time to chat with me, it's really cool because I can show people now in my email, check this out. I had 80 people added to my email list in the last 2 months from scheduling time with me, downloading my free thing, from opting in at something that I made 5 years ago that still brings me traffic today, right? So that continues to build the list. So Calendly, with the integration of Aweber or MailChimp or Constant Contact, you can connect those directly. If you don't have the premium Calendly version, Zapier is a really neat tool that allows you to connect the dots between various platforms. And there's a loop around where you can do the free version of Calendly, free version of Zapier, and still have it connect to MailChimp. So those are my main 3 things that I started off with, where I can build my list, stay in contact with everyone who reaches out to me or finds me online. So now all the seeds that I ever plant in perpetuity continue to grow that and bring people into my ecosystem. And I also capture their information instead of wondering, how do they find me? Where do they come from? What do they want to know? Does that kind of make sense?
It does. What's been the best free thing you've offered to get them to want to grab it?
Great question. I just was talking about this yesterday. Everyone's wondering at lunch, this little lunch mastermind, what's your free thing? So I didn't know at first, and then I heard someone say at a conference, look at your most downloaded stuff. That's what people probably want. And my most downloaded podcast episode was one I did years ago, 5 productivity hacks that I recommend. It far outpaced the download rate of all my other shows, and that was my first freebie. I sat there and I typed it out over a weekend and it wasn't anything fancy. I think it's maybe chrisbello.com/productivity might still go there, but my current thing, it's a tool of value that I've been using for myself, and I kind of just gut checked and said, I think this might be helpful for people. It's been something I call the complete life tracker, where literally I created a spreadsheet in Excel. I track all the pages that I read every day. It's very simple, part of my morning routine. I put a 1 if I meditate and a 0 if I didn't, a 1 if I'm exercising that day and a 0 if I didn't. And there are pivot tables. It's all automatically set up, where you pretty much go there, you do your little log. Did I work out? Did I meditate? Which pages did I read of the book? Page 23 to page 57. And it'll tabulate and show you everything. So I can tell you how many pages I read on a random day 3 years ago. And I can tell you what book it was, how many books I read last year, quarter over quarter, how many workouts I've done. So it's been a really cool tool to track my personal habits, like a habit tracker, on top of my business goals. And that, if anyone is interested, that's at chrisbello.com/free, which redirects to that. And before, it used to redirect to the productivity thing. So you'll see the redirect thing has also come in handy, because now my content can live on. Things that I made 5 years ago will still build my list today.
That's what Rory said too, that evergreen stuff.
Evergreen. It's the way to go.
I love that.
Tracking is hard. I always struggle, trying to consistently track, but it's so important because there's always something that you wished you had known, that like, what did I do yesterday? Why am I off for today? Or why am I having such a great day? Or why is my sleep so good? But tracking is one of those most difficult habits, I think, to incorporate and keep consistently. But I love that, because you're always looking back and wishing you had that data. So I'm just curious, is there anything you do differently if it's going to be a real estate client? Is there a free thing you give them, like how to pick a real estate agent or any of that kind of stuff? Or and who are you after with this? Because I mean, don't get me wrong, Dana and I are very multifaceted entrepreneurs. We have a lot of stuff going on.
To say the least.
To say the least. But I'm just curious. It sounds like who are you trying to be a hero to with that stuff? Is that more your podcast people that would be appropriate for?
That's a very good question. And it's been kind of an existential crisis I'm working through on, like, who am I, right? I love all these things. I love automation and nerding out, but my podcast I started before I even got into real estate. It was documenting the journey. Oh, I put 40 grand into that. That didn't work. Okay, I tried to file a trademark. I got a cease and desist. I didn't realize there was a company that's like pretty much the same font. That didn't work. Documenting the journey. And so now that I'm at this place where I have these skills that I've learned and acquired, I am kind of just marketing. A lot of people come to me who listen to entrepreneurship podcasts, business podcasts. Maybe they have a side hustle. Sometimes they're in real estate, sometimes they're not. So I cater to that audience of like the person who just wants to be better. I'm in a mastermind that Ed Milet and Andy Frisella host, for example. So I am very familiar with that kind of content. Just improving your life in all areas in all ways. That's what I'm more focused on. But when people enter my free list, I think in the PS of my first email, like PS, if you're a real estate agent, you might find this free training helpful. Let's say 10 people come in and 2 are realtors and they see that, they can click on that and it'll segment them so I can tag them with agent. And I know that I can speak to them a little bit differently than the generic person who just wanted the habit tracker. So I'm working to actively get a little bit better to figure out who's in the audience, what do they need help with, and how can I deliver that value to them, consistently over time.
Yeah.
Chris, too, I mean, you can get a lot of one of the things that I've learned most,
referrals.
Gary Keller has said, most of us are one of our biggest untapped sources of business is realtor to realtor referrals.
Just had a closing today. That should be a $6,000 or $7,000 referral fee right there.
There's a girl I interviewed her for my List More, Sell More, or my listing agent masterclass. She's out of the Dayton Market Center, Lee Hart. She does a phenomenal job, and she does exactly what you're doing, Chris. Yeah. Her referral business is unbelievable.
Her newsletter is amazing.
And all she does is share things that are working for her with realtors across the country. And then she does a Starbucks card that people can get a drink on her. I mean, she does some amazing stuff, and she has a large referral agent business. So that's a great idea, Dana. Definitely he could repurpose what he's already doing and have another stream of income based on what he's already doing.
Exactly. And that's the angle I've been working to play. And I've had a few random referrals of somebody who has an apartment in Dubai and someone who wants to sell a house in Mexico. And I'm like, haven't really done international, but let's see, I'm going to connect you with someone. And if I get a wire in 3 months, I'll be happy. And if not, it only took 15 minutes, right? So just seeing how I can do that.
How is someone like that finding you that is in some other place? How did that person find you?
From either the podcast, it's really cool. I'll get random followers on Instagram all the time. My email list, people are subscribing at all hours of the day, and I can see where they came from, like Calgary or from Jamaica or something like that. You'll see some really interesting places where people are finding you, and you can also dive into some of the stats of who's listening to my podcast, which countries are they from, more or less. And so any of those things, whether it's me on this podcast or on another podcast, or maybe I spoke somewhere and someone recorded it and uploaded it, if I direct them all to chrisbello.com/free or /links or something, boom, they're in my ecosystem. They're on my email list. They get a link to connect with me on Instagram. Maybe they watch my story where I say, hey, don't forget, it's my birthday, everyone. The best thing you could do is give me a referral. If you need help buying or selling, let me know and I'll do my best to connect you. That may invoke or incite someone to actually reach out to me and say, hey, I have an apartment in Dubai that I'm trying to sell. Can you help me with that? Actually, yes, I can. Let me connect you with someone. What's your timeline? Do you owe anything on it? I'm not really sure how it all works out there. Even though I worked there, I never did real estate there. But that's how you can start to invite people and have calls to action where they'll take you up on that and they want to help you. And it's my birthday, so how can you turn me down, right?
Yeah, and Chris, we got to get you hooked up so you build your profit share too, because I mean,
I know
everything you're doing is creating validity and influence for that stream also.
Exactly.
So you could very easily have 4 streams of income. I love it. Okay, so what made you do the podcast, and how long have you been doing it? And tell us a little bit about what's been some of your favorite topics, or I don't know. I think you interview people also. You said you and I talked about this. Dana, we do this.
Yeah.
We interview people that we want to hear. We want to.
That's right.
So
exactly.
So tell us about the podcast.
So it just started mostly to document the journey, and it evolved into interviewing people and just becoming a better speaker and getting good at some editing and then delegating and outsourcing. But really, like you mentioned, I get to figure out who do I want to learn from? What's that next skill that I need to improve? Because someone in my audience wants to hear that too. I can bring them on the show, learn from them for an hour for free instead of paying for $10,000 mastermind or something. I get to pick the brain of someone like Dean Graziosi. I got to talk to him for 30 minutes. He was busy that day. So I've had guests such as Dean on the show. Yeah, big time. So those types of guests where you get to learn a lot, you get some nuggets. You're like, I can't believe I'm actually talking to this person and not just listening to them on an audiobook. And it's a really cool networking tool because if you connect and build rapport, they'll say before you get off the call, hold on a second, what's your cell phone number? I'll text you my number. And they're going to let you know when they're in town next time, and you might get to hang out with someone who is in a place where you want to be and they're a close friend now. And those types of things start to happen. So that's been my secret weapon is who do I want to connect with? What do I want to learn? And how do I get someone's phone number that may not otherwise just share that or put that out there?
Yeah.
So how do you get them to be on your podcast? Do you just send them an email, or do you try to find a connection between somebody you know and they know? We've had some pretty amazing people too, but usually I've either been in a mastermind with them or I'm in a program that somebody knows them really well and they'll connect me.
Yeah, sometimes it's just an introduction, or I had a friend working at mastermind.com, which was put together by Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And so he connected me to someone. She got Dean on my show, like those types of things where sometimes you have to jump through some hoops to get a special guest on the show. Other times it's as simple as just telling people, hey, are you open to a podcast swap? Here's my podcast. We passed 1 million downloads last year, showing credibility. Like, this isn't just my first episode. I do this all the time. Would you be interested in that? And that's an easy thing because, hey, you could be on my show. I'll be on yours. And that's been working really well. And I think I forgot to mention, I did start the podcast 5 years ago. So it's been about 5 years. I'm going to a podcast conference next week. So I'm taking it more seriously now as well.
That's cool. I didn't even know there was a pod. Linda, we don't have to do that.
I know.
Yeah.
The problem is next week. I did notice it's a 3-day. And so Mega Camp it starts on, yours start on Wednesday?
I think it's either Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm flying in on Tuesday, and I'll just figure it out along the way.
Yeah, well, I know. I looked it up because I want to go too. It's in Dallas, actually, Dana.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I might can jump over there on Friday, but I haven't looked into it anymore. But I did look, and most of it will be at Mega Camp. But there was a piece of it. I even looked to see if maybe you could sign up and get the recordings and stuff later, but I didn't look that hard, so I'll go back and look at it again.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that. That would be really cool. You know, sometimes too, I think like a lesson out of this too, and I think Chris, you're probably great at this, is just ask. I mean, just ask people. Like we're getting Damon West because I messaged him on Instagram because he was on Ed My Let's podcast. Like, and he responded
That's
instantly.
amazing.
So I think sometimes it's just, you never know, just ask them.
You don't. I have a friend coming to my wedding that I've never met in person. We've been good friends for 3 years, and we were on each other's podcasts. Like, that's the power of content and getting to know people. And I'm like, I don't think this guy's going to be like a scammer or a fake, because he's got 3,000 YouTube subscribers. I've watched his videos. He's constantly working towards his goals, that kind of thing. And I've even offered him a place to stay. I said, hey, we're not going to be in town when you're in town, but if you need a free place, I'll leave a key in the lockbox. And again, I've never met him in person. That goes to show how powerful it is just to meet people virtually and also to ask, right? Just shoot your shot, send that DM, see if someone wants to be a guest on your show, and you'll be surprised. They might give you their email or their assistant's email to coordinate it.
I hope that our listeners are just hearing the importance of just having a list, like just getting the list. And then what you can do with it is endless, but you have to have a way to get the list.
100%. You got to grow that email list. It's your most valuable asset.
Yeah, totally.
So true.
I'm going to get the complete life tracker after this podcast.
Yeah, let me know if you have any feedback. I love to hear it. And some people get overwhelmed, like, oh, I don't track anything. How am I going to track pages that I read every day? But I try to make it as simple as possible. If you look at mine's a little intense. I have like 20 tabs, but that one is clean and simple and straight to the point.
Dana, I just want somebody to follow me around and track for me.
Same.
It literally just takes a few minutes. You read, you track your pages. Did you do your meditation that morning? I do the miracle morning, so really that just checks all the boxes right off the
Linda,
bat.
I can just see Betty now with that spreadsheet following.
Running around behind me. Well, let me just tell you, the one I'm having to do right now for the Heel Hive is like intense. Like, you got to know when the sun comes up, when it goes down, how much sleep you got.
Wow.
Is there pollen in the air, which I still don't think I've ever filled that box out one time in 30 days, but it's like intense. And, you think you'll remember stuff and you just don't.
No.
Right. I mean, it's pretty intense.
That's totally true.
Well, Dana and I are going to do a talk, and we're getting asked a lot to kind of talk about, why it's important to do podcasts and different things like that. What would you say are some of so you can do the homework for Dana and I, what would you say are some of the biggest benefits you've gotten from doing your podcast and creating an audience like that?
I'd say the biggest benefit is just becoming a better speaker, more confident. I can turn the camera on and do a Facebook Live video. I don't even care. Like, random person can film me and I'll give them a 2-minute spiel on whatever question they ask me. It's like Toastmasters on steroids because I'm doing it every day, 380 episodes or something like that, where it's been the best self-development tool to get comfortable on camera, to update my social media. I still meet top producing realtors that are terrified of making videos, and that's the best way to scale. They're not doing content. They're not doing podcasts. They might have had 4 closings last month, but how are you going to continue to get the message out there when you're not actively talking to people all the time? That's through content, through videos, through audio, that kind of thing. So on top of getting to be a better speaker, you're also putting content out there where people can find you 24/7. All those little pieces of content work for you when you're not working.
Yep, love that.
I think I could talk to you all day, Chris.
I know.
Likewise, I'm excited to have you on the show as well. Whenever it's on the calendar at some point. Your assistant used my Calendly link.
He'll train your assistant for you too, Dana. No, just turn him over with them.
Talk to him. Yeah, I love it.
I just like to help people. I'm like, gosh, I remember when I was trying to schedule things without this, and it was a nightmare, and I never want to go back. So let me help you, just fix that forever.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I love that. Well, what advice would you give as we kind of wrap up here today? What advice would you give our audience? Primarily, we have business people and we have realtors, but what are some tips or ideas that you would want to, maybe you wish someone had shared with you earlier, or things that have been the most helpful for you that you think our audience needs to hear? And then I'd love for you to tell the audience that we've given them a little bit in here, but how would you like for them to connect with you? And I'm sure they're going to want to listen to your podcast and follow you. I know I'm going to.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate the time once again. But the main takeaway I would tell people, this is a tagline that I haven't even said on my podcast for some time, but it used to be more prevalent. I'd always say less dreaming, more doing. I think my starting off in the investor space, where I was dealing with hoarder houses and just figure it out, fill out the contract, we'll figure out the details later. that helped me a lot, because I think a lot of realtors in particular get caught up thinking they're going to get in trouble or get sued or do the deal wrong and piss somebody off, right? We're always afraid of doing the wrong thing, whereas I just said, jump off the cliff and figure out how to build the plane on the way down. You'll get a whole lot more done than the person who's waiting to come up with their podcast name for 2 years. I'm already 200 episodes in, right? So stop waiting, start taking action, and almost do that ready, fire, aim approach. Just try something, see if it works. Try it again, you'll get there a little bit closer. And then if you'd like to connect with me, the best way is just chrisbello.com or chrisbello.com/links will take you to that link tree. You can check out the free guide that we talked about. You can listen to the podcast. That's the best place to get a hold of me, or Instagram as well. My handle is chrisbello_.
Chris, what's the name of the podcast?
It is called the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. Kind of a tongue twister, or like a lot of syllables going on there, but that's what I picked, and it gives me good SEO. And if you type in that in Google, I'm #1 on there. So it works well.
Oh yeah, you popped up right at the top.
We should have consulted Chris before we did all of our naming and all that stuff. We could barely figure out how to use the microphone, much less all the other stuff, Chris.
Oh, no worries. I'm happy to help. We could talk more as well whenever you're on my show as well.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, remember, if you have not, please hit the subscribe button. And if you can think of anyone that would benefit from these kind of conversations and these great guests like Chris that we've had today, be sure and pass this podcast along to them. And if you've got any ideas, questions, thoughts, or concerns that you'd like to have Dana and I talk about on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life in real estate. And remember, Dana has this big goal for us to have 500. Is it 500, Dana?
Yes.
500 5-star reviews. Pardon me?
We're getting closer. I was trying to pull it up, but keep going.
Well, with people like Chris, we're going to get there. So be sure and give us a 5-star review so Dana can take that 500 off her list and get a new goal on there.
Yes.
And again, thank you, Chris. We appreciate you today and all your wonderful information that you shared with our guests.
Thank you, Chris.
And Dana,
thanks so much. It was great to connect with both of you.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.